not a lot, but I've just noticed that there are repeats. Okay, I'm just giving you a heads up on that. Okay. All right, distributed systems. So you have the opposite of centralized systems. So we have opposite issues, right? Traditional client-server, peer-to-peer. So there's a need, because it's distributed, there's a need to coordinate, right? And authentication authorization is going to be always an issue. It says there is no central control. Okay. So example would be grid computing. Okay, cloud computing that we talked about yesterday. Okay. But cloud computing isn't necessarily a distributed system. It could be, but just because it's a cloud computing, it's not, right? Grid computing usually is, okay, or peer-to-peer definitely is. Okay. Web-based systems. Security requirement, there's really no difference as far as all the things you have to do to secure the system, but it is more accessible, isn't it? Because it's, you don't need a special client. All you need is a browser. So because of that, it's possibly more exposed to threat. Okay. It's easier, and a lot of people use it. So common protection, IDS, IPS. So these are HIDs, right? Host-based IDSs, host-based IPSs, host-based firewalls, host hardening, right? So host hardening, typical things you do for host hardening are, right, no extra services, no extra users, get rid of, like guest users or disable them, delete applications that you don't need, okay, change all the defaults, right? So those are typical things you do for hardening. Input validation, now they're talking about web applications, input validation, but look, if we're talking about web-based stuff, look at all the threats that you have on OWASP. OWASP will be like a perfect companion to this web-based attack, just like the top 10 web application vulnerabilities that I have a link there to. And people talk about input validation all the time. Why do you think that is? Because if you start looking at this thing, they'll say input validation, input validation, input validation. So why do you think that is? Why is input validation so important? Injections. Right. Hmm? 2 injection used to be more common before we did validation. Yeah, in fact, let's see how common it is still, because many things open here. Let me just get rid of stuff. I can't see. Tabs. Alright, we did that already. Yep, okay. Yeah, so Twenty 2016, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8. Okay, so those are the at least the well-known ones, and this thing. Multiple SQL injection vulnerabilities in the web services, web server in SolarWinds. SolarWinds Storage Resource Monitor. That's funny because SolarWinds actually produces a lot of security tools. Oh, look at all that stuff. It's critical, it's high. Yeah, there you go. Like, what's up with that, right? SolarWinds, you expect better of them from SolarWinds. But, yep. And basically, it's all about exposure, isn't it, Terry? So the inputs are where we are obviously exposed because people can touch the system through entering something into our system. So even though there may be other things you have to do, like, do a great programming right from the start and all that, injections, the input validation is almost like a first line of defense. In that case, from web application, from consuming, web application consuming something, that is malicious. Yeah, yeah. And injection flaw is one of those. There you go. Because it's exposed. So web-based mobile systems, risk from remote computing. That's basically what you have, remote computing mobile systems. VPN access is not quite end-to-end solution, as I explained, right? Because you're crossing the border, and somebody may be peering over your VPN connection because you're not at work, but you're at like airport or something. Not to say that you can't have this type of over-the-shoulder, shoulder surfing type of stuff going on inside a company, because we do have to be concerned about the insiders. Common issues: trusted clients, network architectures, policy implementations, stolen or lost devices. These are all issues with mobile systems. And risk from mobile workers, sure. Platform proliferation. A lot of people having a lot of devices, right? Accessing from a lot of different places. I mean, that's basically the cloud, and mobile, right? So proliferation, you may lose control of it. Okay. Home-based PCs, right? You're at home. You're commingling your work data with your, home data. There's a case where this was only maybe about 10 years ago. Department of Defense equivalent in Japan, Japan Defense Agency, or now it's called the Ministry of Defense now, didn't have enough computers to go around. So to everyone, all the soldiers. So they said, look, you can bring your home computer in and use it, right? So it's a bring your own device. I guess they're a little bit ahead of their time doing their bring your own device into the workplace. But look, it's national security. One of the guys brought in, and it was infected by a peer-to-peer malware. The what do they call it? Weenie. They call it Weenie. I'm not sure if you heard about it, but Weenie. Weenie is a peer-to-peer file sharing software. There was a flaw in it, and this guy was using Weenie to share his particular folder, but because he was infected with this malware, it was sharing his root folder, like C. And because he was bringing it to work, he had like some sensitive information about the Japanese defense right in that computer, and boom, it was shared to the world through Weenie. And needless to say, going forward, they didn't allow for personal computers to come in, and there was no sharing of computers. By the way, when you look at things, why do we have the kind of stuff that we have? It seems to be because something triggers it, like those kinds of events. So when we go into testing and assessment section, which is domain 5, okay? Oh, I'm sorry, 6, there's something, I'm going to be introducing something called the hacking methodology, because white hat hacking is testing. So I just want to kind of introduce that to you. But there's another one called the kill chain. I'm not sure if you heard about kill chains. Kill chain by Lockheed Martin. Okay. Then you say, Lockheed Martin, coming out with something that's hacking, right? Isn't that a kind of weird thing? When I heard, I said, okay, wow, kill chain, wow, what is this? What, it's a methodology for hackers to attack your system? Wow, who came up with that? Lockheed Martin, people who make aircrafts like F-35s. Do you know why? Do you know why Lockheed Martin came out with something like kill chain? I know, Christopher, isn't that interesting? Major hack into their system. They lost stuff on the F-35s. Like, how dare they, right? But yeah, there you go. They got hacked, and from that experience, they say, hey, we have this neat thing called the kill chain. I just think that's really hilarious. But anyway, it's good though, that people are becoming aware. Hopefully, it doesn't take those kinds of major breaches for that to happen, right? Okay, there you go. Embedded devices, cyber physical systems, right? Cyber physical system, what is that, right? So intelligent connected devices and cyber physical systems. So cyber physical systems are those systems that actually have like sensors in it, okay? And So let me see if I can actually give you, what did I connect this thing to? I connected something. Oh, there it is, cyber physical systems, cyber physical systems. So here's a list of all the cyber physical systems. This is great because this is like a, it's a mind map, and every place you go, you can actually click it and find what kind of cyber physical systems you have. Okay. Anyway, that is in your presentation material. That are smart network system with embedded sensors. So here's the thing. I think I heard it on the podcast about a month ago. Okay, England. I think it's one of the power companies that it's universal. Well, it's countries' power companies. They wanted to do a massive replacement of their power meters to a smart meter, and so they were planning on deploying like tens and thousands of these smart meters to all the homes and replacing all the meters. So they're smart. It's digital and stuff, and they're connected, all of that. But somebody did a due diligence on that thing, and they checked it, okay, before they let it out. And what they found was that the content was encoded, which is nice, okay. But the key, the secret key that they used to encode this thing was inside each of the meters, and they were all the same keys. All the same key. So what that means then is that if somebody grabbed hold of those 1 meters, like, hey, take one from your home or something, because it's attached to your home, then you break the key, one key, now you have access to all the tens of thousands of meters that are deployed out. So we currently have, I think, is in a rush to connect everything, have all these sensors out there. You have the traffic lights with sensors, and you got all kinds of sensors all over the place, and there you go. Lack of security. Okay, just imagine what could happen. They can read the data, and if they read the power meter, they can pretty much tell if you're home or not, or what kind of activities you're doing. Right? Are you just like having tea, or are you taking a shower? Right? So all these things could be known. And also there was once again, I think this was maybe about 2-3 weeks ago. Russia has a bunch of cameras attached to traffic lights, and they measure traffic so that they can change the traffic light signals and how they let out or stop traffic, to just get the whole, the city moving smoothly, right? Well, what they found out was that these sensors are all connected, okay, there was no authentication, I think, into the module that updated the module. And it's like, what? So the people can actually get in and change the information, change the firmware, right? So they could possibly have controlled, or they probably have already controlled the traffic, make congestion, and do all kinds of things. So these things are really scary, these cyber physical systems. Okay, scary in that they're proliferating and people are not putting too much security around it. Okay, so security professionals must understand and manage emerging CPS tech solutions. And you saw all those clickable things. I mean, those are all emerging solutions. Okay. The industrial control systems, ICS, okay, and supervisory control and data acquisition, SCADA, these are related to the critical infrastructure and management of such. Okay, so take, for example, Stuxnet, right? How many of you read about or seen a 60-minute special on Stuxnet? Nobody? Yeah, you have, right? Okay. Anybody else? Oh, it's famous. Guys, you need to know what Stuxnet is all about. Because it actually talks about multiple issues that are addressed in CISSP. Christopher, can you enlighten us on what the Stuxnet is? Just a simple description of what Stuxnet is. So I can drink my smoothie. That's right. Yep. 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 Exactly. So this worm was looking for a specific device. They're looking for Siemens device that they knew that the Iranians were using for the nuclear enrichment facility. And as just Christopher mentioned, so that it was a strictly purpose-built stuff. And then what it did was when it found its mark, it would damage the controllers by slowing down. Let me see. They were speeding up the centrifuges in a very erratic way, right? And it wouldn't speed up all the time. It was just like speed it up and slow it down, speed it up and slow it down. So overheating it and causing the hardware to fail. And at the same time, though, there are systems like the ICS, Industrial Control Systems, and SCADA systems. They have them. And just imagine just a bunch of displays showing the health of all these centrifuges. And the Stuxnet, to its credit, actually changed the display so that when the centrifuges were malfunctioning, the display showed no problems, right? So the operators would look at it thinking there's no problem, where in the centrifuges, they were just like burning up, okay, centrifuges. And initially, I think they were purchasing these centrifuges from Russia someplace, and they thought it was just bad quality stuff coming in. I think it was Russia, I'm not sure, but bad stuff coming in. So they were blaming the vendors and say, look, replace these. And for the longest time, people are starting to have like, what is going on with this thing? Is it true that we're really having these bad things? Because centrifuges in the thousands had to be replaced because they were breaking down, okay? And everything was okay when the worm was inside the Iran's, the nuclear enrichment facility. And yes, as Christopher mentioned, it is said to have slowed down, their nuclear development by a lot, okay? But the problems start to happen when somehow this worm got out. It got out of the facility, okay? And it start to infect and do its thing to other facilities that had nothing to do with Iranians, nuclear enrichment facility, okay? And that was the beginning of the demise of Stuxnet, because then, now all these other people are looking at it, okay? It used to be a 0 day, right? Because nobody could see the pattern, so obviously Iranian didn't know, okay? But now when you see several places, the worm, now people are starting to see the pattern. And it was an American company. In fact, this was a yellow company that I work for, right? Found this and reported it. And they reported and say, oh, we found this worm. And it looks like it's targeting Iran's nuclear facility. And then after they reported it, they said, whoops, maybe I shouldn't have said anything. But it was too late then. So now the Iranians got the whiff of this thing and said, what? Somebody's targeting this, must be the Americans, right? So then, or the Israelis. So they were looking to see both sides. So this is a known, documented information. It's not out in the open outly, but it's been written in the book and stuff. Mr. Obama said, look, speed up this thing. So that now they see it, just go for it, like go all out. So yes, it was U.S. government in cooperation with, it was NSA in cooperation with the Israeli intelligence agency, that they actually created this worm, super worm. And in the end, though, so when Mr. Obama says, look, no holds barred, just go ahead and go for it. So they start to destroy a lot of things. But by then, Iranians start to disconnecting the systems, and they knew that it was a worm, and they knew how to to find that worm. Okay. And what's interesting about this is not only learning about the 0 day, and all this interesting thing about NSA and how Mr. Obama's fight for terrorism and such. Okay, but another thing that's interesting about this is the fact that we are in the attack business. because NSA actually used 8 zero-day attacks. That is, these attacks that they purchased from someone that have never been used because they're zero-day. They used 8 of them in this Stuxnet. Okay, so they used a lot. So they had a lot riding on the Stuxnet. But once it's found, it's no longer zero-day. Okay, then what happened now is, Christopher, you know what's happening now with Stuxnet? That's right. It's being copied and it's being repurposed, right, to attack U.S. and other, other places. So that's these types of like malware. It's like a weapon, right? So it's a weaponized malware, but unlike other weapons like missile systems, they don't blow up at the end where people can't put pieces together. These malwares don't blow up. Right? Maybe what we need is a self-destruct button. It's like a kill button that the program just disintegrates. Maybe that's what we need, right? If we're going to weaponize these things. So there you go. That is the story about the Stuxnet. It's very, very interesting, and it does talk a lot about how we in the U.S. do a lot of we are very prepared to be on the offensive. And people are actually like talking at the I think it's the UN level that says, can you actually consider if someone attacks someone using cyber like malware like Stuxnet, can it be considered act of war? In some interpretations that I've heard that it can be. So there you go. It's really changing. Anyhow, it was. Stuxnet was something that was targeting the SCADA systems. Okay, that's what a SCADA system is. And what's so scary about the U.S. is that SCADA systems are pretty old. And it's been known for a long time that our power grid and other critical infrastructures for the nation is running on very, very vulnerable infrastructure. Okay, so take for example, although I'm not sure if this is considered critical infrastructure, but the ATMs. Right, automated teller machines. Do you have any idea what operating system it's running on? Most of it? No? Yep, Windows XP. Exactly. And what do we know about Windows XP? It is end of life, right? So it's no longer supported. Well, directly. Yeah, it's Windows XP. Yeah, probably not embedded. I'm not sure. So Terry, do you have more intelligence on that? Oh, end of life. Okay, got it. Okay. All right. So what I'm told is that the ATMs using Windows XP, that is end of life, they're paying enormous amounts of money to maintain support on these things, okay, for those that are end of life. But one of my customers that attended the CISSP, he says, well, some ATMs are running like Windows Vista, and then it makes you wonder, doesn't it, that, okay, so how come they don't change it? Why are they still using something that's very, very old? And this goes to the heart of why are the SCADA system old? What do you think? Lack of support for what, Terry? I would imagine it's a lack of support for the old OSs. Why wouldn't they change it? Ah, right. Hardware drivers, right? Okay, so you're saying that we have this application. Look, it's running fine. You're telling us to upgrade. If we upgrade, we have to probably redo the whole system because these drivers are not supported. These software is not supported. Okay, so it's going to break it. So why break something if it's working right, right? Yeah, probably something like that. I'm not sure. I'm not in that industry, so I'm not exactly sure. Really? Okay, they're old, but but in order to upgrade it, it's just too much effort, right? You have to probably replace it with a whole brand new system, which may have their own sets of vulnerabilities. Yeah. Oh, is that right? They're not. Okay, they're not compliant. Okay. No one wants the liability of what? Not being compliant? Interesting, because there's actually, I know a company, and when I was doing, working for, I think it was the yellow company that when I was working for, um, Bank of America will hit Bank of America, not Visa, not Visa or Mastercard, not the brands. You're talking about the bank. Right. Okay. Got it. Got it. That's right. It isn't it? Yeah, exactly. Um, I was trying to sell our PCI DSS compliance, services to this big oil company that had a whole bunch of gasoline stands. Okay, and they said, look, there's too many point of sales devices out there that's not compliant for us. It's just too much money for us to fix those things. So we choose not to comply to PCI DSS. And then I said, well, aren't you afraid that like Visas and MasterCard is going to, not allow you to use the cards, or they'll like give you like major fines? And they said, look there to me, you have to understand, we are a big customer to Visa and MasterCard. So if we were to say, look, okay, fine, you could take your compliance and whatever, we're not going to comply, and you can penalize us, that's fine. And, the penalty that we have to pay for you is a lot less than how much it would take for us to replace this whole thing. The guy said, right? So he chose not to comply. So in the GRC model, it is a risk of non-compliance, and they kind of weigh that and say, oh yeah, risk of non-compliance not too big. But guess what? I think it was maybe like 3 days ago when I was listening to this podcast, there was a major attack on all these gasoline stands, the POS systems. I don't know exactly what they were, but there was some kind of a major attack on the POS systems. So I'm not sure, if they made the right decision, and I'm not sure if that's the same gasoline stands and stuff. But anyway, so that's the kind of stuff that you're talking about, the SCADA systems. Okay, and those are the issues. Those are real life issues. Okay, lattice-based access control. So now we're going to talk about the access control designs. Okay, and when we're finished with this, we'll call it for lunch, and we'll take a little break. Once again, subject and object relationship. When we talk about lattice, we're talking about like layers. Okay, you have the upper bound, you have the middle, the lower bound, right? That's what we're talking about. So it has something called the least upper bound, the greatest lower bounds. That's the upper and lower bounds. Then you say, what in the world are you talking about? Well, examples will probably give you better insight. These are typical ones that you have to remember. That's why I'm putting it here for you. Okay, so one is called the Bell-LaPadra model, right? Bell-LaPadra. Okay, and it is about the confidentiality model. And honestly speaking, for the longest time, and probably even now, people are using this model. So when I explain it, if it feels right, okay, you're probably using this model for access control. So here it is. Let's assume, just for simplicity's sake, okay, by the way, the data classification, oh yeah, you know what, sorry, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but I do have to kind of show you this, which I didn't cover on the first day. I really should have done it. Okay, let me show you the whiteboard. Okay, so presenting the whiteboard. Okay, so in the military, well, by the way, classification has two. You have the military and you have the the public, or like non-military. Okay, so your book actually does talk about those two. Okay, the classifications are different between corporate and of course government. Okay, but in the government work, especially in the military, when you have the data or any IT resources, but mostly for data here, okay, you have to set the sensitivity for what this thing is, and we talked about that, right? So the data owners gets to decide, okay, and usually in the military it's a policy. There's a policy that says certain documents must be classified in a certain way, okay. But in the end, though, data owners makes those decisions, looking at the policy, looking at the documents, say, okay, so these things have to be classified top secret or confidential, what have you, okay? And so if you have something like, this is top secret, okay? So then the rule is that if you want to access this thing, you have to be cleared for it. Right? So if this is classified, so this is called the classification. And this document is classified top secret, you must be cleared for top secret. So what that means is you have something called a clearance. Right? You have to have top secret clearance as a minimum. Okay? And so when I was in the MPs, I had top secret clearance because I had to look at, and I didn't like having top secret. I don't like keeping secrets. But they gave me top secret, and there were certain documents about the crime that occurred that, could be top secret, so that I can have access to that information. Couldn't go to, let's say, a different unit, completely a different unit, has nothing to do with my military police duties, and say, hey, look, show me your top secret documents because, look, I have top secret. They won't do that, okay? They won't show it to you because of what? Why wouldn't they show it to me? What is another condition that has to be met before the top secret person can look at top secret documents? Need to know. Very good. Okay? You have to have need to know. And, of course, another word for need to know is least privilege. Okay, so least privilege is it. Okay, so it's done in this way. And if you have same thing with a secret document. So if you have a secret document, okay, I can access it because, I have top secret. So something that trumps, maybe I shouldn't be using that word, something that is higher than, okay, secret, right? So I can read the secret, but of course I still have to have need to know. By the way, confidential. Yeah, what you got, Terry? DSSCI, is that what you used to have, Terry? Oh, see, there you go. You were in the Navy. Yeah, there you go. And so, were you in the intelligence? Because I definitely did not have an SCI clearance. I just had a top secret clearance. And the people that I knew that had a CI, they were all in intelligence, so I just figured maybe you were in intelligence. Ah, my goodness, my goodness. See, you're right you're in the right place, aren't you? Right, you're in security, right? I'm kind of like outside because I don't like top secret. It's just too scary. Especially with SCI. Oh, look. That's why you were in the SCISSP, right, Terry? Yeah. And I can tell you one thing. When I see all these problems that the police are having, like shooting people and stuff, because they feel their life is in danger. We were told, we carried guns and stuff, we carried our weapons and stuff, but we were told never to shoot unless you were shot upon, right? Except for one place. So we usually didn't shoot it because we were kind of afraid that we're going to be breaking a law by shooting at somebody. If you were actually protecting the skiff. So if you're protecting the skiff, if somebody is running away from the skiff and their back is to you, you can actually shoot them still. Of course, you have to tell them to stop, but skiff is that important. Oh, see, there you go. Yeah, there you go. So this is usually what happens, right? Classification. Oh, by the way, confidential, right? Confidential is not considered classification, by the way. Wow, skiff inside the skiff. Oh my goodness. So you're like hot, right? Until you retire or something. Your brain cannot be accessed. The information that you can't tell people until you're in your 70s or 80s, and people have to ask for, request to see what's in your brain. It had to be declassified, of course. Of course. See, that's the thing. That's the thing that I don't like, and I don't think anything that I tell you, they're not, even the kind of the work that I did, it is no longer classified. It's out there. But yeah, see, that's the thing, isn't it? So here it is. Confidential, just to remember, it's not a classification. So if somebody says, oh, it's classified confidential, it's not. Okay, top secret, secret, SCI, they're classifications, but confidential is not. Okay, then going back to the slide. Going back to the slide. The Padra model. And so here it is. Medium sensitivity level, secret. Okay. High sensitivity level, top secret. Low sensitivity level, let's say it's confidential. Okay. Although it's not classification, let's just say those are the levels. Okay. What they're saying here is this. Let's place yourself in the middle layer. You're in secret. Okay. What they're saying is that look at the up arrow that says write OK. So what that means is that you can provide top secret information from secret, right, to whoever's the top secret. So you can provide information up. Okay. So why do you think that is, Terry? Why is that allowed? Exactly. So an example would be when I was overseas working with, because I was an MP, I worked very closely with MIs, military intelligence. And one of the buddies that I was hanging out with was a field agent. So he would go out in the field and he'd collect information and he reported every night. He'll be like typing and reporting. Okay. So the information that he collected, he has no idea. It's not classified. I mean, it is classified secret at least, but he sends it up to the headquarters, and the headquarters look at it and say, "Wow, this is top secret stuff." So they label it top secret. Okay, and if the guy said, "Oh, you know what? I want to make some corrections to what I inputted. Can I read? Can I get access to what I just sent you like last night?" They'll say, "Sorry, you can't." If the guy said, "Well, why not?" Well, because it's classified top secret now, and you only have secret clearance. Right? So that would be the Terry's explanation of its input rather than output. So you can provide something that may be considered top secret as an input. Okay? But the thing is, you will not be able to read the top secret information. So if you were to have an arrow going up that says read, it would be a no on that. Okay? Now, with the medium sensitivity level, you can read things down. So remember I told you I have secret clearance. I can read things that are lower than secret. Should be no problems. But at the secret level, I cannot provide that secret information to the lower level. So the write is not okay. You cannot write. You can read it, but you cannot write it. Okay. But there's an exception. So what is the exception for this? When can you actually provide information from the medium sensitivity level to the lower sensitivity level? When would that be? Terry, you mentioned it. Yeah. So, excuse me. Sorry about that. In general, if you are at the medium sensitivity level, you cannot provide that information to the lower sensitivity level. You cannot divulge that information, except there's an exception where you can provide information from the medium sensitivity level to the lower sensitivity level. Well, just because you have a need to know, the person who does not have secret clearance cannot read something secret. Right. So that is the process of declassification, isn't it? So you declassify it. That's right. Yeah. So if you declassify it, you can't provide that information. And there's several ways you can declassify it, right? So Terry, what would be one way of declassifying an information? Oh, lifetime of data. So you're saying that it is. So there's a period for classification, and now it's beyond the date. So now you can declassify it. Is that what you're saying? Right. It is no longer relevant. What's another way? Anybody else know too? Authorizing authority declassifies it. That's right. So if you're the owner, right, or the authorizing authority says, I'm the owner, I can make a decision, I declassify this thing. Right. Or above them. Right. That's right. So the chain of command above them. Sure. They call it redacting, right? So you can kind of like black out the parts that are secret. Yeah, right. And here's another way. So usually the redacting follows the rule of, if you look at documents that are in classification in the US, you'll see a page that has like a top secret on it, and the top secret comes from, you're looking at the page of information, and usually there are sentences and paragraphs that are also themselves labeled with classification, like this paragraph is secret, this sentence is top secret, what have you. Okay, and the page takes on the highest classification within that body of paper, and then of course the whole document takes the highest classification of any of the pages in that data. So if you want to declassify it, let's say top secret down to secret, you take all the paragraphs that has top secret labeled on it, take it out, right? Then now the only thing you have is a secret thing, and now you can label it secret. Okay. Now you're not going to have all the information, obviously, because they're prohibited from being viewed by somebody from the lower classification. Okay. Here's another one, and Terry, I'm not if you're familiar with something like this. You are on a high security project. Okay. Let's say you're building a missile system, right? And you know that top secret information is that how accurate this missile is going to be. And let's say it's the unit that it is to a, let's say a feet, right? So this thing is going to be accurate to several feet, right? But that information is top secret. Somebody wants to know it, so somebody wants to work with you, but you can't, because they're at the lower sensitivity level, you cannot reveal to them the actual value of how accurate this missile is supposed to be. So you dumb it down a little bit. So instead of feet, maybe you say, let's say it's to a 50 feet or something. Okay, so you dumb down the information. Now you can declassify it to secret. Okay, and if you dumb down even more, let's say it's to a mile or something, and then if that unit is to a mile, then you say, look, okay, It's pretty dumbed down now. Maybe this, this part of the information doesn't have to be classified at all. Okay. So have you seen that done, Terry? When you dumb down the information? Right. Yeah, that's right. Right. So now you know, guys. Right? Yeah. So people dumb down the information to declassify it, so that's another way. Okay. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because I do have a point to make on this one. Right. So this Bell-LaPadula model is basically this. That's the model. And for the longest time, right? For the longest time, we were comfortable with this model until somebody came up with something else. And I'm just going to cover that portion, and then we'll go to lunch. Okay. So the next one, which I want to cover, is called the BIBA model. So BIBA model states, look, we've been living with this Bell-LaPadula model, and it may be good for the military, but it's not really, it doesn't really fit all the time to the corporate world, right? To the, the private sector. And he said, in the private sector, things don't revolve around sensitivities and confidentiality. More, they revolve around integrity. And when they talk about integrity here, they do call BIBA model the integrity model, but they're talking about accuracy, more like accuracy. Which information is good data compared to information that is not as good data. Okay, so the lattices, the layers that you have here is high integrity level, medium integrity level, low integrity level. Okay, so take for example the case of the missile system. If you know the information to a mile, okay, then you're at the low integrity level. If you know the missile accuracy to 50 feet, you're at the medium integrity level. And if you know the accuracy to feet, then you're at the high integrity level. Okay? And then what the BIBA model is saying is that people have to have access to the most accurate information. So if you see the medium integrity level, see where it says read OK. It's a read OK because the high integrity level has better information. And you have access to that. You have right to that information. That's why read is okay. But you cannot provide information from your level up to the high integrity level because you may corrupt the integrity of that high integrity level. So you cannot write up, but you can read up. Okay? Then on the downside, medium integrity level to the low integrity level, you can provide information down because you have the better information than the low integrity level. But you cannot, it's not on here, but you cannot read information from that location because now you would be corrupting your own integrity level at that layer. Okay? See, it's a very different model when you talk about the integrity level. Okay? But what do you notice about, do you see any relationship between the BIBA model and the Bell-LaPadula model? Do you see any connections? There's the BIBA model. Here's the LaPadula model. Anything at all? Chris? It's reversed. Exactly. It's flipped. Everything's flipped on this. But then you say, well, but look, we're talking about apples and oranges here. One's talking about confidentiality, where the highest level is high sensitivity, whereas in the BIBA model, you're talking about high integrity. Different things. Okay? But remember the example that I gave you, the missile system. Okay? In one, it is highly classified because it's accurate. The lower levels are less accurate, right? Whereas in the integrity model, you can access that information because it is most accurate, right? So if those two things overlap, if you're talking about accessing the information that is highly sensitive and highly accurate, okay, then these models collide, right? And in the military, they don't usually use the integrity model. It's mostly the Bell-LaPadula model. But what do you think? Do you think Professor BIBA was right in saying that, look, in the enterprise, it's not really about confidentiality, but it's more about integrity, that is accuracy? Do you think that's correct? Like, do you use, if in the public, private sector, the BIBA model instead of a Bell-LaPadra model? Access control? Do you see this implemented? Do you see the BIBA model implemented in your life? Yeah. Right? In networks? Interesting. But yeah, no, right? Yeah. Um, I've actually not seen it. So all the companies, all the corporate that I work for, it's about not showing you the data, not about giving you the best information, except when it comes to something like business planning, and then yeah, they'll give you that information. So it's a mix, I guess. Okay, so I hope that gives you some ideas on how to remember these two models. There are other models, so we'll complete them after you come back from lunch. Okay. Are there any questions before we break for lunch? Okay, good to go.